Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm playing with the lighting. I hope everybody's week's going well. This is, well, hopefully, one of my authors' chats of the week. I wasn't able to truly connect with my guest host a little earlier, so we shall see. And here we go. On time. Oh, hello.
Hey.
Hi, I can hear you. I cannot see you. And I don't know why more often than not that always is the way. Ah, there you go. Fantastic. Hi, how are you?
I am good. I have been sick for a month and somehow am sicker today, so
Oh,
apologies. I will just be wiping my nose. But super
so sorry.
excited to chat. And sorry my last message was confusing. I was like totally on for tonight. I just didn't know what you meant by the chat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I always call them live chats because I keep them pretty informal, and so yeah, we just kind of get to know each other and answer any questions that may pop up. And what I usually do, because you're my guest host this week, I'll let you begin by introducing yourself and a little bit about what you write, and we'll just go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, so hi, I am Lauren. I am a young adult author, and my debut book, We Ship It, came out this past June with Harper Teen. So I write young adult contemporary stories, and I do a mix of things. My main focus now is actually helping other writers get books published. So I've been on a little hiatus from straight up fiction writing.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm based in Brooklyn and I'm mom to a toddler who is 16 months old.
Wow. Okay, you definitely have been keeping busy.
Yes. That's why my eyes are like, ooh.
Oh yeah, no, no, that's really cool. I know. I was following your page's transformation as you were gearing more and more towards helping other authors out, and I know there are so many authors and writers who just want to figure out how to publish a book in any kind of format and form. And I'm indie, so I know that one. But you said you're HarperCollins. You said HarperCollins, correct?
Yeah, yeah, Harper Teen, but that's an imprint of HarperCollins. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really kind of cool. So let's do the basic then. How did you find HarperCollins? How did you get an agent and go the traditional route? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I also want to hear your whole story live. I'm sure you've told it many times, but just you seem super awesome, which is why I hopped on. So would love to hear all about your path and more about indie publishing because I'm always looking to learn more about what's actually involved. I have so many writers come to me and ask, should I publish traditionally or indie? And there's so many pros to both approaches,
Mhm.
and there's so much that's really hard to both approaches. So I'm always trying to
Exactly.
get more informed about the indie path, just because I know a lot about the world of traditional publishing, and I
Mhm.
just want to make sure that I'm giving writers the most helpful advice because I really think it depends overall on your big picture goals as a writer to decide
Yep.
what is right for you. But for me, I guess I didn't know too much about indie publishing. I think it's become a lot bigger and more accessible in the last few
Mhm.
years.
That's very true.
But yeah, I basically just knew a little bit. Like I knew you had to get an agent to get traditionally published. And I
Mhm.
started writing in 2017. Um, ChatGPT. Oh man, I've gotten in trouble for ChatGPT. What I will say is, I think it is, you shouldn't plug your work into it, but as an editor or just like brainstormer, ChatGPT helps me move a lot faster, like when I'm writing like a website copy and stuff. um Powerful tool. So anyway, I started writing part-time in 2017. I worked on it for a few years, and then I started pitching agents in 2020, and I pitched a ton of agents at once. I'm actually
Mhm.
just finishing up a course on this now that I'm launching next month,
That's
on the strategies. But I pitched 80 agents, got 8 offers, ended up signing with an amazing agent who now is like a dear friend of mine. um and then she sent my book out on sub, which is when you like pitch it to editors. And it did not find a home. It was a book about a girl who actually becomes a social media star. And the
cool.
feedback I got was that editors liked the book, but books about social media hadn't at the time been selling.
Mhm.
And so I pretty quickly wrote another book, and that book got a really fast deal at auction. And that's the book We Ship It that came out this past June.
That's so cool. And I love when I hear people saying that, especially those who are working with literary agents, that when you become friends or, you become really tight because they really do need to know you and what you're about and your interest and your dreams to help, sell you. Because they are, yes, they're selling your product, but they're also kind of selling you as well. And so you do need to become close with them and be comfortable with them and vice versa. And, you have to find, because I have heard other authors who didn't develop the right relationship with the right agent and had to pull out for different reasons. And, that happens as well. So it's always good when you find the good match. So you did right then.
100%. And I talk about that a lot too in the course because I think it's such a gate kept community and finding an agent seems to be like this holy grail and writers will just like sign with any agent they can get. And I really warn against that. It's like saying I'll go to any college, right? And some colleges are scams and some agents, I don't want to say are scam. I mean, some are not great, but some are just not the right fit and are really going to delay your career more than if you just, if you went the indie route and slow you down.
Yeah,
So
and the thing about going trad is you do have to understand that your first book that you pitch may not be the one that makes the sale, and that's okay. Some of the most famous authors that you can name, got rejected so many times with agents, so many more times with publishing houses. So it happens. It's okay, and each time you write a story, you get better at that, and that's kind of the goal. So that is really neat. And do you have a cover of your book
yes,
around?
I think they're all are they all downstairs? Yeah, they're all downstairs and I'm hiding from my toddler so she doesn't get upset. Um so I can't hold it up.
It's
But
okay. It's okay.
it's a very colorful book and my toddler actually loves ripping the jackets off of them because it's like the most colorful book in the house. But it's a really pretty cover.
Well, what you should do is if you lose one of those covers, kind of maybe laminate it on a stick so then you can just have the cover around and be like, here it is,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
insta sticker, and be like, here you go. But yeah, that's why because I do a lot of these lives now, I created a poster with a inverted images of my book cover so I could just be like Vanna White and be like, here you go.
Very
Before
smart.
too long, people won't know who Vanna White is, but like right now, I can still use that reference.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's gorgeous behind you. And I want to, should I wait? Should I save my questions?
No, whatever you feel like it.
Okay. I want to hear all about your whole process, how long you've been publishing and what made you go the indie route, and how you've made that, yeah, seen so much success. Like what are your secrets?
Oh, I don't know if I have any secrets. Usually it's the tell-all on these things, but yeah, no, I kind of like you in the beginning didn't really know much about indie. So like so many authors thought, you had to go trad or bust. And so that was one of those things is, as I said, sometimes the first book, and it could be whatever reason, it may just not be what's on trend at the moment, but for whatever reason, your first book may not get it. So I did query, didn't get really any feedback, but I wanted to, at that time, had started hearing about indie and kind of was curious about the process. So I actually met up with another author that I happened to work with at the time in a writing group.
Oh,
So
cool.
one of the and so she was telling me her story about getting into indie publishing, and so helped me out. And it was a great process because I wanted to have a debut book and I wanted to just know as much as I can, start it with a platform and start somewhere. Of course, simultaneously, I found out that my supposed to be standalone was going to be a 4-point series because as I was wrapping up that whole process, it ended up growing. So I was like, okay, I'll do indie for my first series and I'll query again down the line. But I learned so much and started building a following kind of, with that. So years later when I was doing my YA, because I write fantasy, so I write epic fantasy and young adult, new adult literature from the light and bright and quest-based Tolkien-esque stuff all the way to more grimdark. But for my YA series, I was querying again now that I knew a little bit more, and I got some interest, but for YA, they're very restrictive on how big a book can be. And I write wordy full lengths. I know that. And so the choice was, do I cut a third? and pitch it again, or keep true to what I was, writing. And I was like, well, I've already published before. And when you're indie, you're not hindered as much on some of those kind of restraints. Yes, you have to give out quality book and all these other kind of things, but the limitations for word count aren't there. So I was like, for this series, I'm just going to go indie again. And I'm always open to an idea of down the line, maybe becoming hybrid, but because I've done decently enough with the indie track, I continue to enjoy doing it.
Yeah,
And
I
playing
love
around
that.
with things.
And I think that's such a good point about, getting to have the control over the creative decisions. It's not like I didn't face anything like that where I'd have to cut a third or really majorly
Mm-hmm.
change anything. But that does sometimes happen, and I
Mm-hmm.
think traditional publishing, they're just used, they don't like to take huge bets, right? So they're like,
Yeah.
this is the standard length of a book that has worked. It's not that longer can't work. It's just we have small budgets and these are the bets that we take. And so that's like one really big pro of going indie is not having to worry about those bets because like you're betting on yourself.
Yeah, and like you mentioned from the get-go, both options and even hybrid, I mean, they all have their very big pros and very big cons. I mean, as indie, some of the biggest cons is it is all on you. 100%, nothing else. Every decision, everything is on you or anybody you hire, but it is you who has to kind of multitask and micromanage all that. When you're working with other people, sometimes they lift some of that off your shoulders. You still have to do a lot. People have to understand, but it
Uh-huh.
does help because you do have that kind of support system from the get go, which is nice too, from what I've heard. But again, outsider looking in.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about like because I'm always just fascinated like talking to other authors and authorpreneurs, which I feel like all indie authors are authorpreneurs. Like what it was like building your platform, what it's like
Mm-hmm.
finding readers. Do you offer services to writers or readers outside of your books? Yeah, like how do you split your time and your business approach?
I mean, for me, it's been like an evolution, and I think it's still going to evolve going forward because with the publishing industry all across the board, it's always changing, and the needs and wants of readers and writers are changing as well. But for me, I kind of bracket my day because I figured out it's one of those, it's weird to say thanks to COVID for anything, but because, you had more time, I was able to kind of restructure how I was approaching my author career. And so mornings are writing new material predominantly. Afternoons are split editing other things or formatting or working on the marketing. I just launched a beta version of a bookshop so I can take more control of my book
Oh
sales
wow.
and sell direct and get even hopefully more, a higher cut than even before, which is one of those things that readers are so shocked on how little per book authors can get paid
Huh.
because a lot of that money goes for printing cost and shipping cost and whoever is managing the host sites or whatever. And I don't know what your cut is, but like it's a lot smaller than I think the bulk of readers and a lot of people who want to be authors realize from the get-go. So being able to cut out some of the middlemen, so to speak, and being able to take a little bit, again, more control. I am a control freak, so this is okay.
I didn't know that. I always assumed with indie that it was just like a higher cut. I'm sure it's still higher than trad, but I didn't realize that. I mean, I guess I didn't think about like the printing. I guess I also associate indie with majority Kindle.
Yeah, I mean, Kindle is one facet of it, but like there are so many others, and some people aren't even on Kindle and are indie, so it just depends on how you're producing. Like I was up until a little bit ago exclusive through Amazon, but there are a lot of authors who are as wide as anybody else in trad. They just go through a different route, and everything again has different percentages and cuts. There's a lot of benefits for being exclusive through Amazon. They pay compared to everything else very well compared to everything else. But I know on the Indieverse, you can hear a lot more authors taking control of direct sales and finding ways to create their own bookshops and distribute as much as they can because um, we all want to get paid for the work we put into it in the end.
Uh-huh. It's so much work and it is so little money. So talk to me, what has it been like creating your own bookshop?
A nightmare. Now, for me, I'm not techie at all, and I don't know with you, and you're creating all these like fantastic platforms for educating other writers and soon-to-be authors and stuff like that. I don't know how techie you are from the get-go. I never felt confident when it came for anything like that, and it's always been just a big learning curve because again, you had to learn how to manage your own, from everything from your website to newsletters to social media to some of the more finesse stuff of like creating your own marketing material, advertising material. I mean, all of it is involved with various technological platforms, and never was very confident with that. So for me, I say all the time, I am the last one to figure things out. I always do things the wrong way first. And this is why my shop's in beta and will probably be in beta for a little longer because I know something's going to happen and I'm going to panic. It's going to crash or something and I'm going to be like, I don't know what to do. but it's a fun learning curve because for for my author shop, I had my website ever since I started publishing in 2016. But adding the shop function, I not only can sell books, but I can do book box bundles, or I can do other kind of, if I design and pay for custom character art, distribute those things. So I can offer now a lot more than just books, but book-ish merch, which is kind of fun to do too. But it's a whole other layer to the game, and it's one of those things. Is like, I'm a writer. I want to write books, guys. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, I
Everything
mean,
else
the
is great.
marketing is
I'm a writer.
it's full time, and the smallest things will take an entire day. Like I just started running TikTok ads, and
Mhm.
I mean, I've done a lot in tech before, but it was just, figuring out like one little thing about like how to add the tracking pixel to your Squarespace site. And then
Mhm.
I haven't really had people reach out with tech issues. I feel like ever as a writer because I've had I had my website, it hadn't broken, and then today I got two user reports of like potential bugs, and it was sort of fun because I haven't dealt with bugs in years. And I'm also staring at my ground, and I just realized there are like bugs crawling by my bed, so I'm like, oh, that's great. That's what I get for like eating my lunch in bed and hiding from my toddler who's been home.
It's
Um,
mom life, mom life.
yeah, but yeah, it was really invigorating to just like test parts of my website and like my email funnel and see what's working. And I mean, I think that's a big part of why I decided to focus a little bit more on like the teaching aspect of writing as opposed to just writing. Because you're like, ugh, I hate this. I want to get back to writing. And when I write, I love it, but like it's not as like interactive. It's very slow. Like, and there's such a long, it just takes a while, right, before like the book comes out and you get to talk to readers about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that been? I mean, you've launched so many books. What's that like for you? Like, do you have a reader community of people who are like eagerly awaiting each book?
I want to say I would love to say yes, but it's not there yet just because each series that I write, and I knew this was an issue from the get-go, not really an issue, but a challenge, it's worded that way, is that each of the series are very different. And yes, I'll have readers who will read anything I put out, which is fantastic, but they definitely have their subgenres and their niches that are so dramatically different that someone who likes a clean YA adventure fantasy maybe not be the same reader who likes, the grimdark dark fantasy about Vikings and, Norse mythology. Maybe not the exact same person. So marketing gets a little more complicated, but I knew that going in. So I'm always trying to learn better, and that's why I do these things, because I'm kind of like you. I love to pick the brain of whoever I'm talking with and be like, tell me the things that have helped you, or tell me please don't do this because it did not work out kind of thing. But my question for you is, because you like the teaching aspect of the writing thing, and there are so many people who are so eager to learn from anybody they can, have you ever considered going to any conferences and been a panelist? Because that was something I've been involved with for a couple years, for telling, here's what I know, here's how I stumbled through life, here's where I am. Hopefully
Love
some of
that.
that helps. But how about you? Have you ever done anything panel wise or educational wise on the center stage, or is that something you're interested in?
Yeah, I used to do that more when I was in the startup world. I had some like really fun speaking opportunities, and yeah, love doing them. I haven't, I guess I'm still newer as a writer, so still like learning this landscape and like what panels exist. And definitely haven't been out too far now that I'm a mom. It's just harder to take
Yeah.
off and, head to Florida for 2 days for a conference. But I actually went to a writing conference, which is actually
Mm.
where I met the agent that I chose and I signed with. Not realizing that that would be the case, but right before the world shut down in 2020, I
Oh,
went to this amazing writing conference and I got to study with one of my favorite authors and just like hang out with a group of writers for like 3 days in the sun. And that was
fantastic.
awesome. Have you been to like any writing retreats or conferences?
I haven't done a writing retreat. As for a true writing conference, I did one early on, and that was the problem. This is how my one book ended up being for, was I came out of that conference when I was about to like wrap up that first draft, and I was like, oh, my series, I have a series. It's not over. But it's been a moment, and so this November I'll be going to 20 Books 50K in Vegas for, because it's one of the bigger or one of the biggest, if not the biggest, indie conferences
Oh, cool.
for authors in the States. And so it's going to be all new pretty much because everything has changed since 2016. And I'm going to be like, teach me everything. I'm not going to sleep for like the whole week. Just show me things. I'm here to learn. That's what I hope, at least.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Is that a Facebook group too? I feel like it sounds familiar.
Yes, they have a huge Facebook community, and if I remember correctly, it started with the Facebook group, and so many people wanted things, so it branched off as a conference and has gotten bigger and bigger over the years. So it's pretty big, and they also now have conferences, I think, globally too. I think they have some offshoots in Europe and other places as well, but I know Vegas is their the big one, so I'm excited.
That's awesome. Are you going with any other authors you know?
No, it's gonna. Well, I am going by myself. Didn't know anybody, so it's kind of one of those terrifying things when you're like, I've never actually been to Vegas before, so I'm like, new place, don't know anybody, going by myself, and I'm like, okay, but it's again the power of some of these platforms and who you start meeting and networking and befriending on things like Book Talk. I've actually now, just because of these kind of live chats and kind of networking with some other authors on here, now know about 3 or 4 that are going, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Oh,
hang out with
that's
me,
so
please.
fun.
I'm gonna be your shadow because I'm the weird one right there.
Love that. Hey, Ronald. And also, if anyone has any questions, feel free to pipe in the chat.
Now, let me ask you. You said your book is YA. Is it a standalone, part of a series? And let me know the book pitch because I don't think
Yeah.
you delved into that one a little bit.
Yeah, so it's standalone. It's called We Ship It. It's about a type A high school senior who gets forced to go on a cruise, and she's still overcoming the death of her older brother. And she's very, very focused on getting a huge medical internship. So she's like trying to prepare for this research competition while she's on the cruise. But then she like falls in with the crew and falls in love and learns to let go a little bit.
Oh, I love that. What's the inspiration for that? I've actually never been to a cruise before, so I was like, what was your inspiration? Were you on a cruise and being like,
Yes.
ah, wait.
I was very much, I took a few cruises as a teen. They were very life-changing for me as a very type A high schooler. Had a lot of fun, fell in love, made some friends. They're their own unique world. I don't know if I would, as my adult self, I don't know if I would enjoy them, but as a teen, it was very fun. You just like sort of just any other teens, you're like, hi, we're friends now. And you just,
Oh,
I
I
mean, it
like
was
that.
like out of a TV show. So,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's cool. I really like that. And it's always nice to see these YA books and everything that allow you want the growth of the main character, and I feel like I'm fairly type A as well, so those chances that kind of just force you to just like take the moment in and not always be on the go. I respect that, and I know there are other young people out there who are just like, man, need that relatability because I don't know, I feel like high school and your teenage years, you're forced to do a lot.
Yeah.
You're
What
always
was
on the
your high
go.
school experience like?
very different than probably average because I was homeschooled for most of my life.
Ah,
But yeah, I was definitely on the go all the time. I was involved with pretty much anything and everything, from competitive archery to living in the country, cattle judging to as soon as I was old enough, I got my certification for wildlife rehabilitation, so I could take care of baby animals and release them to the wild. And I just was on the go all the time doing stuff. And to
that's
pause is strange, even
that is
today.
amazing. Where did you grow up?
I live in Georgia, so down in the South, where hotter is better for me.
Oh, are
Winter
you
is
part
not
of
my season.
do you have siblings?
One. How about
Uh-huh.
you?
Three. Are you close with the sibling?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're fairly close. It's being homeschooled, you had to be kind of close or to survive.
Uh-huh.
But and actually, that's one of the fun things is my sister, has influenced my writing in many ways when we were children, and that's actually what the reason why my background for my YA story is my sister and I living in the country. We would do a lot of imaginary play. We're always encouraged to go outside and just do something, go play. And so we developed at the time, which I didn't know the term for because I probably was there at the time when we were children, but multiverse, and didn't understand that concept. But it was just magical worlds. We could jump through dimensions and other worlds, and we could be riding dragons in one world and fighting villains on another and exploring the ocean, whatever. And so developed this very vibrant multiverse of cast of characters, their backgrounds, their interactions, and ended up deciding early on that I wanted to share that kind of concept with the world. So I always knew I wanted to tell those stories, and I was just determined. And when anybody asked, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be an author one day." Didn't know how, had no clue, but I was going to do it. I was going to do it one day. It was going to be done. It was going to happen. But a roundabout way, I did my tester series. I'll call it a tester series because, in part, it's true. I wanted to figure out my literary voice before I went into my passion project, and but now that's what one of my series that I'm publishing simultaneously is my YA series, inspired by my sister and the play we did when we were children.
Oh, that's
It's
so
been
cute.
updated, but
Love that origin story.
yeah. So like for you with your writing, you've pitched one idea which is very different than the one you just released earlier this year. How many ideas do you have on your back burner as a writer? Some people are one at a time and they just wait till it comes from others that I've talked to have like 1,002 and just never have enough time. So what kind of a writer are you when it comes to story development?
Yeah, I have a few drafts that I've started and haven't finished, but there's one that I'm really into and that I got further into and then had to put on pause because I was like, I can either, focus on educating writers and giving that my all and creating a ton of content, or I can pour the next year of my life into writing this book and then not knowing, like, will it even get a book deal? Will people read
Yeah.
it? Will people
Yeah.
like it? And it just seemed like a really big bet. Although, I think, sorry,
It's okay.
with yeah, with most things in life, like things work out if you really put the work in, like way
Mhm.
more work than you expect. And so I feel like the book could exist if I ever take all of the time that needs to be put into it. Um, but it's just, it's so hard with books that you don't really have that middle point of knowing, like, is it
Yeah.
worth continuing versus something like, building business to help writers. You get constant feedback of like, yes, I want to learn this.
Mhm.
No, this isn't interesting. That TikTok post sucked. 0 views. So that helps keep me going a little bit more to just like engage with the community and figure out what people actually want.
Yeah, and that's an important skill, and it's one of those things that I feel like I should be better about testing, different posts and everything more than I do. I have fun with it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that is an
that's good.
important
That's what you should do. And also, time in the day is limited.
That's true. That's very true. But like it is when you consider yourself a writer or an author, it is in part a business. You're
Uh-huh.
creating a business, be it you're standalone or work with others. It is a business, and you have to kind of view some of those things. So testing the market, figuring out what works is very important. Figuring out how to pitch your book is very important. There are some skills that you can learn over time. Some people are very good at it right off the bat. Other people take forever to figure it out. It's always me. But that's okay. I mean, we all get there. Like you said, it's if you put enough effort in and you keep trying. I do think most people, if they really put the energy and effort and make it, that important, that level of importance, will get to their goals. It may not be, you may not be, on a TV series or on the big screen, but you can have your book published and you can have lots of readers all around the world appreciating it. You can have that kind of level of achievement. You just have to work at it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I used to think it was just like writers were like born brilliant or they weren't. But I feel like that's one of the biggest things I realized was a myth. Like it's about putting in the time, the time at the keyboard.
Practice makes perfect is a thing. It really is. And yes, you're going to have some books that aren't going to be great. And I've said this, I know, multiple of these lives, but also consider this. Your first book should be your first book. Your second book should be better than your first book. At least that should be your goal, and et cetera, and so on. So no matter what, you're going to go back to your first book years later and be like, oh, okay. And that doesn't mean it's a bad story, but you're supposed to get better. And again, practice and time and dedication improves your skill.
100%.
So where do you like to hub? Do you like the book talk community? There are definitely authors who have their preferences of my favorite is Discord. Or where do you like to connect? Because you were talking multiple times about connecting with readers.
Yeah. I mean, love book talk. Like I think the community is so positive. And in the past few weeks, I've gotten a lot more into the Instagram community as well. I think there's a big overlap. And yeah, I mean, people overall are just like super, super friendly. It's not Twitter.
I never figured out that platform. It's okay. There's some authors who swear by it, and that's good because everybody's brains are wired differently. And if that works for you, fantastic. It was not for me. I figured that one out. I tried. I really did.
I was on it in 2020 and now it is a totally different cesspool and I'm happy to be off of it.
It's okay. And again, that's a nice thing is there's a platform, hopefully, for everybody. There is a book for everybody. You don't have to like the same things. We just read.
Agreed.
Says the reader in me. But so let me ask you, if you're developing this, and you said it's debuting next month or next week?
Yeah, I think it'll be around November 1st.
Ooh, okay, it's getting close. So you're developing this course, is it? Or is it kind of a seminar system? Okay.
Yeah, it's an online course for writers who are looking to land an agent to get traditionally published. So it's got like 65 lessons. The lessons are a few minutes long. They're like bite size, like slightly longer TikTok videos. So everything about like how to build your agent list, how to write a query letter, how to like
an important skill.
Yes. I mean, it's important for indie or trad. Like if you're indie, you need to figure out how to pitch your book so readers buy it. So yeah, I've just spent the past 2 months just writing and filming. That's why I've been sick for like 3 weeks straight now. I've like lost my voice. My immune system went to shit, but I'm really excited for it. I mean, it was basically the same amount of work as writing an entire book and then having to film and edit it and market it. But it feels really fulfilling.
That's really cool. I hope I hope it's successful for you, and I hope it's successful for all the people who participate in it as well, because those are some skills that, again, skills, you can learn them, but they don't come easy for the average Joe. I can tell you that, like, it is query writing and doing all the components of all that whole process it's definitely a very different skill set than writing. There are, like you mentioned, some similarities to blurb writing, which is a nightmare sometimes to people. How do you take your idea and succinctly put it in a way without spoiling it?
Especially when it's like especially when you're so close to it. It's really hard for us to explain things to strangers that like we know so well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it is amazing. And that's something I have to be a bit better of. It is amazing how when writers write their story, you know your characters so intimately. You know, yes, books. You know the story so intimately. And sometimes, at least for me, maybe it's me thing, but I think I've explained something, but I didn't because it makes so much sense to me. It's like obvious to me. And then like one of my beta readers or something's like, you might need to clarify this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just so ingrained and you're like, well, everybody should know this, but not.
And that's why beta readers are so important.
Oh yeah, let me ask that. I mean, you pretty much answered that, but for a traditional published person, do you utilize things like beta readers, alpha readers, or do you just rely on the editing process before?
Oh, no, no. Definitely critique partners, beta readers, outside developmental editors, like lots and lots of editing before I send that off.
See, very smart. Yes, I'm definitely a pro editing person. I know there are different subgroups in the writing community that don't really care about it, and that's like hurts me. But I am definitely a person who's like, hey, the more editing, I don't know. Do you think you could over edit a book, or do you think you could have to just find when to say, okay, enough?
Yeah, I think you can definitely over edit where it sort of loses the voice and becomes just like written by a robot, or at least it sounds that way. But I think 9 times out of 10, that's not the issue. I feel like most books need more editing, not less.
And there's a question for you. It says, who did you sign with?
Yeah, so I'm my agent, Sabrina is at WME, and she got me my book deal at Harper Teen, which is an
That's
imprint
so
of
cool.
HarperCollins.
That is so cool. I love people. I just love the book community. It is so much fun to hear everybody's success stories and whatever facet it is. And no, that's so neat. Okay, how amazing was it to hold your? Did you get a physical proof copy? Okay, how amazing was it the first time you actually felt a physical copy of your book? I think this is like one of my favorite memories of the
Oh,
whole process.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing like it. Like the story lives in your head, and then like the book arrives in the mail, and it's so beautiful. Um, yeah, no, Matt, I was very lucky. The agency is amazing. Yeah, is it still that exciting for you? What number book are you on now?
Well, I will admit, like, it gets a little complicated because my adult series are novellas, which they're a lot smaller, and so I don't actually put out physical copies for them until I bundle them in omnibus versions, so groups of four, and so then I hold them. So physical copies versus ebooks are a little different. There is definitely a discrepancy there, but no, I love every time holding a book because it's like now it's real. Now we're getting there. I mean, I can read on the screen. But I'm definitely a physical copy person, and that's just my bias. That's my preference, and there's nothing wrong or right with anything. But like, I want that physical copy.
Yeah.
I want an excuse for more bookshelves. You can never have too many bookshelves.
Hmm.
You just need a bigger house. That's the problem. I don't have a big enough house.
Same. Caleb, I love that. Yeah, I mean, even just like, I don't know if you mean printing, like getting it printed or just printing from a printer, but for me, even like my first book I was writing, just getting to like print it out and like see those words on paper, that also always really helps me with editing. For
Yes,
my first book, the one I create agents with, I actually staged a reading and like brought in actors and had them read out the dialogue, and that was super fun.
that's a fun approach. I like that. That is
Yeah.
really, I mean, I don't know why I never thought of it. I mean, people do that all the time. I forgot what the term is because I am not a stagecraft expert by any means, but for producing plays, there's always that like initial reading with everybody just sitting around and reading
Table
characters. And I
reading.
was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
really kind of cool. I never thought about doing that for a book. So that is neat. Another book obsessed. Yes. Yes, we love all things books here. If you have any questions, always feel free to ask. But yeah, no, I think that is a great achievement. And of course, when the book finally releases, for you, did you do a big release party or how did you celebrate your book release? Because everybody does something different.
Yeah, no, we had a big party. in Brooklyn at a bookstore that I've been going to forever, and that was super fun. Actually, a bunch of people from TikTok came out. I'd only been on TikTok for like 2 months then, so that was just like blew my mind, like getting to meet
So
people in
cool.
person. And yeah, it was a packed house. It was so fun. Do you
I
do
love
do you
that.
do launch parties for yours?
I I'll admit right now, well, with COVID and just happening, and a lot of my books have been produced in and around that time, that I haven't really made the effort to do a true physical face-to-face launch party since COVID. I should probably change that. But I'm always trying to figure out different things to do. And so for my novelists, since they're a little more rapid release, I have one releasing next week. I really don't do much for them. It's just fun for me to like challenge myself to, I try to release 4 of those a year and one of my full lengths, and it is chaos.
Wow,
It's chaos.
that's a
So
lot.
with the smaller ones, I don't do a lot because I focus more of my energy on whatever my full length book is going to be. And but yeah, I should probably do a physical launch party. I think now that I've started doing a bookshop, online for my website, I'm hoping to down the line, crossing fingers, integrate it with this platform so I could do live signings for people and send them out. Because I like the idea where you don't have to be in the same state as I am, but you could still kind of interact and chat with me, and I'll sign the book in front of you, and then it'll be in the mail, tomorrow or the next day or
That's
whatever.
so
And
fun. I
yeah,
love
I
that
think
idea.
yeah, I've seen a lot of authors do that, and I was like, that's a good idea. I like that, so I'm going to take that idea going
Yeah,
forward. I don't know when, but it will happen soon.
that's awesome. I wish I had thought of that.
Well, you can do it too, maybe. I don't know how it works again, what you are allowed to do and are not allowed to. Um, your route versus mine, but hey, if you can do it, why not? A way to
Um,
engage and wear comfy clothes.
I mean, you'll see I've got my sweatpants on the bottom. Also, I don't know if you can hear my baby screaming. It sounds like she's doing an early bedtime, which is what I'm responsible for. But any final questions before I go try to end
Yeah,
that screaming?
fine. Yeah, no, I totally understand mom power, and thank you for joining. I do want to always ask for people, because I will try, as long as this platform doesn't glitch, because it has done that a couple times. I'll repurpose this on my YouTube channel and put all your tags below. But where can people find you, follow you? Do you have your website? Do you have a newsletter? Let's make sure you hit those. Where can people buy your books too? So, that's a lot of questions right there. Let's see.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so my handle pretty much everywhere. I'm active on Instagram and TikTok, and soon to be YouTube is at Lauren K. Writes, and my website is laurenkwrites.com. So come find me, come send me a message, say hi.
Yeah, and where can people get your books?
Oh, sorry. And pretty much any major bookstore or online. Love supporting local bookstores if you can find it there. It was North American rights were sold, so unfortunately, it's not available in every country. But if you don't live in North America often, you can find it. I think on Google Books.
Fantastic. I love that. And then let me also bounce this back at you, because I know if you have your kid and you have to do what you gotta do, but do you have any topics that you wanted to cover that we never did, or any final questions on your end that you have? Always like making sure we answer everything from everybody.
No,
If possible.
I think you covered it. It was so fascinating, just like learning more about what your process is like and what it's like being indie published. This was super fun.
Yeah, and so if anybody is interested, um, Lauren is going to release, hopefully, a new November horror course on getting published, trad wise. Do
Yeah.
you have a title for the course? Can I ask?
Yeah, it's called Query Boot Camp.
I love it. I absolutely
Yeah.
love it. Well, thank you for
Awesome. Well,
joining,
thank you
and
so
I
much for having
understand
me.
when your baby calls, you must take care.
Yes.
But thank you for joining, and I appreciate it. And for everybody who's joined today, thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. Have a great night. Thanks, Catherine.
Bye.
Bye.